Welcome to Il Salotto Sessions, the podcast where we dive deep into the world of design with leading architects, designers, and industry experts. I'm your host, Sara Seravalli, and I'm thrilled to take you on this journey through the ever-evolving landscape of design and architecture. Let me share a bit about my background. I spent 16 enriching years in Milan, the capital of design, where I was deeply involved in showrooms and events not just in Milan, but also in Paris and London. In 2011, I made a pivotal move to London when I was hired by one of the specification market's main players to establish the new showroom in Clerkenwell. In 2013, my journey brought me to Scotland, where I founded Design Pop-Up. This initiative quickly gained traction and became a cornerstone in Glasgow and Manchester's design communities, and by 2018 we also expanded to Dublin. However, as the market evolved, I decided to refocus our efforts on Scotland. This led to the birth of Il Salotto, a new venture aimed at creating a virtual and physical space for meaningful conversations and insights into the specification market. Join us as we explore trends, share bios, and uncover the stories behind the creative minds shaping our world. Welcome to today's episode. We are thrilled to have Nicolle Cairney, the newly appointed Associate Director at 3dReid Architects, and a rising star in the UK's architecture and design community. Nicolle is known for her dynamic approach to design, especially within the hospitality sector, and today she'll be sharing insights from her career journey and the unique challenges and opportunities of being a young female leader in a traditionally male-dominated industry. Hello there and good afternoon. This new episode of Il Salotto Session. I'm here today with the beautiful Nicolle Cairney, Associate Director of 3dReid. First of all, congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I was thinking this morning while I was walking the dog and getting ready for this, that your career is kind of gone alongside Design Pop-Up. I can't remember a pop-up where I didn't have your smiling face popping up in my photos. And then your career as an interior designer really started about 10 years ago. You've done so well in progressing so much in 10 years, haven't you?
Oh, thank you. Yes, it's been quite a journey. It's been, in some ways it feels like it has been a decade, and then in other ways I feel like it was just yesterday that I was leaving uni and in the big bad world and trying to get your foot in the door somewhere. And yeah, it's been, especially in the last few years, it's just been colossal how much it's developed.
Yeah, 3dReid really gave you the opportunity of step up big time, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's been a real pivotal moment for me, and the team here have just been great to help me get to, I guess, reach a full potential almost. Well, not even a full potential yet, which is really exciting in some ways because the world's an oyster now. So yeah, it's been a good journey.
So how did you end up in specializing yourself in hospitality design? Because even before, when you were at Cunningham McLean, there was very much hospitality, wasn't it?
It was, I guess, my career's it's a little bit convoluted, and I think it's important to talk about a little bit that was away from design as well, because it's fundamentally shaped who I am and how I've got to this. So for me, I left school in sixth year. I was the youngest in my year. So everybody was going out partying and I was there with the notebook, ready to start college. And I started at NC level studying interior design at the Old College of Building and Printing in Florence Street in Glasgow. It's a beautiful building. And I studied there, NC and HNC. And then I decided to leave to work full time to get a mortgage with my husband. So I stepped away from that. And I ended up working full time in Virgin Media in the call centre. And while I was there, I got the opportunity to become a people manager there. So I was all of a sudden responsible for this team of people and also running the call centre. I used to work until 10 o'clock at night. So a lot of the time it was me left with like 120 staff members, sometimes more, trying to deal with all the runnings of that operationally and dealing with people. And I guess through that was where I kind of thought, I just love working with people. And hospitality is such a gift in that, because you work with so many people. So that really formed a lot of the basis of, I guess, my knowledge. I had a lot of support and a lot of experience mentoring people, developing people, training, HR and all that other side of things. So I felt like I was very well rounded. By the time I went back to university to finish off my HND and then do my degree, I did feel like, at the group sessions and things like that, I felt very comfortable working with people. And then when I qualified, initially I had a real interest in healthcare design, but more on the basis of what Scandinavian countries do. It was really important. I remember my dissertation was all about, it's quite sad, but it was all about end of life care and how people have more of an opportunity to die with dignity in a lot of other locations. So for me, it was very much a passionate thing of, how do people experience spaces, and what does that mean? How does it make them feel? So when I qualified, I probably would have taken any role, to be honest, because you're a young designer, you're fresh out the packet, you want to go and learn and experience. And I was so fortunate that my lecturer at the time actually knew one of the directors at Cunningham Maclean, and when they'd approached her to say, do you have any students that we could perhaps reach out to, I was one of the names that she put forward. So I've got Judith to thank a lot for that. She was a great mentor and a great lecturer, and she was responsible for putting me in touch with Cunningham Maclean. And then it was this whole new world of working with so many people, so many different avenues. The great thing with hospitality is the limits are endless. You're designing a bedroom, you're designing a reception, you're designing a spa, you're working on a bar or a restaurant or a toilet, everything within that. And I just loved it. I got such a buzz from working in such a busy and fast-paced environment, but also having so much, sometimes too much to think about, but so much to think about. So yeah, that's how I ended up working there. And
I remember Judith. She used to bring her students to design pop-up. I should probably reach
yeah,
out and make sure she carries on and comes back. She was also, at the end of the day, students are the next generation of architects, and therefore, we had the pleasure of having you with us all throughout your career. Now look at you, you're conquering the world. Then maybe through Judith, we can attract the next one, the next generation. That would be quite good.
yeah. Yeah, that's what it's all about, isn't it? And then, yeah, the design pop-ups have just been fantastic. I do think they've helped shape my career in some ways as well. So I've got loads to thank you for, because having that interaction and meeting people that you otherwise wouldn't, and again, working with or meeting people who work in different sectors and finding out, what does it mean to be an office designer? What does it mean to work in healthcare? All these things it's just so interesting, and you don't realize how small the world is. Really, everybody's all connected that way. And it's been brilliant to come to all the events. And
Yeah, I remember when we had you and Scott presented on augmented reality. What was that, Pop-Up Glasgow 3 years ago? And
yeah,
I
it was
remember you
amazing.
saying, "Thank you for this opportunity. It's been amazing." And I said, "What is she thanking me for? She just brought 100 people into my event. Why is she thanking me? I'm the one supposed to thank you, not the other way around." That was one of the most successful evenings we've ever had, other than the Parmesan and Prosecco, obviously. But as a presentation numbers, it was one of the top evenings in 10 years. So why the heck she thanking me?
No, no, it was a great evening. It was very daunting, but yeah, it was a brilliant evening, and so many people were interested in it. So I was so glad that people came to listen as well.
Yeah,
Um,
you chose a very, very interesting topic. Talking about topics, you participated to a talk a few months ago with Jim Hamilton on defining luxury in hospitality.
yes.
So what were the main takes from that?
Well, I think the main hits in hospitality is that hospitality now it's evolved so much, and it's continually evolving. The way that people use hotels, bars and restaurants, cafes, they've completely changed. It used to be, we were having this conversation earlier actually about, you used to go to what you would class as a business hotel, and there would be, business rooms and business suites and function suites, and there'd be huge expanses of hotel footprints were dedicated to that. And now, yes, they still exist, and yes, there's still a platform for them for bigger events, but people expect a lot more now from hotels when you go to them, and you want them to be multifunctional. You want to be able to go and grab a coffee with a friend, have a business meeting, take your laptop, go for a pastry at lunchtime with a coffee, and then go back in the evening and have a drink, or go take families for dinner, or go on a date night. They have to be, I guess, a jack of all trades almost now. And that was one of the biggest takeaways, was talking about how that has developed, and how we as designers need to be, I guess, adaptable. And we are adaptable anyway as designers, but certainly we need to plug in more as to what people want and need from those spaces. And then there was a huge discussion about sustainability, and particularly in hospitality design. Quite often, and sadly, it's one of the first things to almost get flung out the window when the dreaded word budgets come in. But trying to teach clients and find ways to repurpose, to reuse, to be smart, and having those spaces that now are multifunctional almost helps with that a bit, because you're not just designing a big business suite that's going to sit empty over weekends or whatever it is. You're designing spaces that people are going to use all the time. And a table now is not just a table to sit and have a coffee and a pastry at. It's a table to go and work at, to connect into with your laptop, to have business meetings around. And things like the lighting in these spaces needs to cater to all of that. The acoustics in those spaces need to be thought about. So it was really interesting talking about that. And yeah, I would say that's one of the biggest things. Another point that we did touch on as well is how people now, we've got a cost of living crisis. We've got a lot of things going on in the world that affect how people travel and how we spend money, and if we've got money to spend. And we as designers and hotel brands out there need to work harder to attract people to go and stay and spend their hard-earned money. You're not going to go now. I mean, people invested, if we were lucky enough, we invested in our houses during lockdown. We've got beautiful spaces now a lot of the time, or spaces that we enjoy being in. Why would we pay to go and stay in a city centre hotel, especially one that's nearby if we can't go abroad, when we've got home comforts? We have to deliver something more that brings people out and makes them go and keeps them returning. And keeps them talking about it on social media. And these more and more businesses now grow through their social media presence. We an amazing example of that actually is we completed the Address Hotel last year in Glasgow city centre, and they have marketed that so well. They've tapped into the target market that they wanted. They had a lot of local influencers and local, big names going there and staying and talking about it and posting pictures and videos. And they had one of the most amazing launch nights I've ever been to for a hotel. It was fantastic. They thought about everything. They had fire dancers and drummers and all sorts of things going on. Having that market now, people need to be, they're looking for more of a personalized experience. They're looking for something that engages with them as a person and makes them want to go. So that was another topic that we discussed quite in depth about some other brands and things that do that as well. And it's just, again, it's so far removed from even 10 years ago when I first started looking at hotel design. It's just a completely different ballgame now.
Yeah, on the opposite side of the spectrum, we've got Premier Inn.
Yeah,
But, I was in London last week, and they opened a new Premier Inn in Clerkenwell called Hub. So they've got this new collection of hotels called Hub, which are more designery than the plain purple and white. Last time I was in London, I spent £200 for an hotel room, and it was just decent at best. At least Premier Inn, not only slightly cheaper, but you know what you're getting. You know you're going to sleep well. I mean,
Yeah.
the room was the most compact room I've ever been to, but it was cleverly designed so that you could drag the table out of the bed if you needed to work on it, or the drawers under the bed to put your stuff in it. But then I was there for a night. I just want to sleep well, be where
Yeah.
I want to be, and have, as you say, a drink downstairs with a colleague or whatever.
Yeah, you're totally right, and it's important as designing things to think about where they are. Because you're going down, we go down to Clerkenwell. We're going for the design. We're going to go and see showrooms. We're going to go out and socialise and network and meet people and see products. We don't spend a lot of time in our hotel rooms, so there's also that sector where when you're designing for, city centre brands that maybe are more focused on it's the location that they're in. They're not, people aren't going there to go for their dinner in the restaurant at night. How do we design for that? And how do we make those rooms comfortable for people when they're spending as well so much for a small period of time? But just because you're only in there for a small period of time, it shouldn't be overlooked as a design. It should still be, like you said, a nice place to go, comfortable. You know what you're going to get. You're going to get a lovely, comfortable bed, but is your shower good? Are the finishes nice? Do you have storage for your bags that you're taking down and the bags that you ultimately get when you're out as a tourist and coming back with things? All those things make or break an experience in a hotel room, particularly. So yeah, it's interesting how different brands deliver on different things, and you really need to hone into that and understand what that target market needs to make that hotel or that brand functional.
Do you think there is hope to get proper luxury in Scotland?
Oh yeah, I think
I
yeah.
mean, other than the Balmoral in Edinburgh or Blythewood in Glasgow, do you think
Mhm.
one day we will have proper luxury around Scotland as well?
Oh yeah, and I think we do as well. But do you know, I've got a wee bit of a bee in my bonnet about that because at the minute there are some amazing luxury hotels that you're seeing being heavily invested in, but they're not. It comes back to that, they're not always accessible. Particularly look at the north of Scotland. So we've got the NC, the North Coast 500 now, and it's bringing in so much tourism. And there's people going up there and they're staying from anything from a camper van on the beach overnight to, which is some people's luxury, to, copper bathtubs by a window that you look out and there's deer jumping around fields and through the forest in front of you, and it's someone else's version of luxury. And that higher end is sometimes very difficult for people to access because it comes with huge price tag. And it's finding that common ground, I guess, for everybody to be able to access that. But it certainly does exist. We worked on
It's a bit more elitist, though, isn't it? You need to go to the big estate and spend £1,000 a night.
yeah, but then that's another, I guess this is another sector when we think about it in terms of hospitality, because Airbnb in these places and smaller boutique, hotels or B&Bs that you stay in, they're really well thought out, really well designed. There's some great ones where they take a lot of Scandi design inspiration and they're just gorgeous places to go and spend time. But they're not bigger brands. So sometimes it's finding those, but it would be so interesting to work on those and design them because a lot of them are designed, in-house by the people that have bought them, rather than coming to, a 3dReid or a somebody to design that for them. So that would be really interesting to get involved in.
Every time I go to see my hairdresser, I keep telling them they need to hire you to redo the salon. Have you ever
Give them
done
my
that?
details. I'll do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. A new challenger for you. How do you
A new
how do you
challenge. I love it.
redesign a hair salon in Buchanan Street in Glasgow?
Oh, I'd love it. I'd be there for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be your target audience. That's it. Listen, as part of this a part of this podcast, the first person I interviewed was Gillian Stewart.
Yes.
So obviously Gillian has been around for, she said 50 years. I don't believe that because she's too young. But anyway, she's been around a long time. So she would be a super established pillar of the industry. You are not an emerging talent anymore because you're established yourself, but obviously you are not, you've been around less than Gillian, and therefore you haven't seen the changes in the industry that Gillian has seen. So what was your perception of being a lady in the building industry? What do you think has been particularly, if anything, has been particularly difficult for you to deal with?
Oh gosh, that's It's such a big topic, and it's something. See, to be honest, Sarah, we could do a whole podcast session just on that question alone. I think you're absolutely right, and I listened to that episode with Gillian, and it was a fantastic interview. I actually bought her the Arts Principle book that she was talking about. It's great. So if nobody's listened to that episode and looked at that book, I recommend it. But yeah, the industry for me, certainly, I guess I came in at a bit of a different stage where it was slightly more accepted that women were in the industry. It has grown. There is a lot more women now in the industry. Not enough. I think the latest statistic was it's only between like 14 and 15% of the construction industry is female. And even less of that, again, are women in positions of power. I do think it's important to note we're not the only industry that's like that. I do feel that we are a wee bit behind the times, and certainly there have been challenges. I think the biggest bit of advice I could give to somebody now coming into the industry as a young woman, or even indeed just as a woman, because I don't think it's even biased against age, I think is at times you need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And actually that's true of any industry in any sector that you work in, but it can be quite daunting. You're walking into a room and it's a lot of men in suits. Sometimes it's people who come across as, I guess, very bold or brazen. Sometimes you feel like you're in an aggressive environment, even though it's maybe not, because there's no other representation. There's no other women there. And we've all been round a table at some point where we've made a point about something or we've said something and it kind of gets overlooked, and then someone else will say the same thing. And it's like, it's a great idea. And you're like, I just said that. So there have been instances where that happens.
I've started calling that the boys' club.
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know
so
if it
right.
because I don't know if it is because I'm getting older now, and with all becoming older, middle age, you get more aware of things
Mm,
happening to you. But even though I have a lot of incredible, supportive and fantastic male clients, I feel that there is a whole lot of male professionals of supply in companies that would potentially be my client that are
mm,
not taking me or what I do seriously just because I'm a woman, and therefore they would
yeah.
go with a competitor where the business owner is a man. And I'm
Mhm.
becoming more aware of situations like that, which is a real shame.
Yeah, it is. It's really disappointing, and you're right. It does exist, and it's happened in the past to me. I'm sure it won't be the last time that things happen like that as well, which is sad to see. But like you said, there are some amazing people out there, and I think is again just another bit of advice is whenever we're in these kind of situations, is look for the person that's standing up for you. Look for the person that is willing to help and willing to explain. I remember some of my first times on site, and one of the main contractor team came over to me and was like, have you ever seen this before? But not in a condescending way. It was genuinely, interested. And have you ever seen this before? And it was a slip form on site where they were starting to form the main lift shaft of a new hotel that we were building. And I was like, no, I've not. And he stood and explained how it worked. And you could see it. It's all moving in front of me. And I just thought, this is great. This is somebody who's actually taken time out to explain this, done it away from a group of other guys so that you're not feeling like, you're someone who doesn't know anything. They've not singled you out. And actually that person was the person as well that in board meetings, if I did say something and it was overlooked, he would be the one that would say, actually, Nicole's just had this point. And seeking out those people and harboring that relationship is so important. Knowing who your allies are is so important. And also, it comes to that point as well where it's not just seeking out the men that will help us with that. Obviously, the majority of the time at the moment it is men, because that's 95% of who we work with. But supporting other women that also have that view and standing up for them. And I think as well as designers, and given that the industry is so saturated with men, it can almost be seen, or some people can see it as a bit of competition. Women aren't your competition. We should be standing up for people. We should be creating safe environments. We should be sharing knowledge and best practice and encouraging people to grow and giving people a platform. I was so lucky that I've had quite a few occasions where I've been given a platform to learn, to be seen, to talk. And yeah, we owe that to each other. But I'll tell you a funny story. So there was one of the times I was on site, and it was a big site. Thankfully, in a city centre, which you'll learn why in a minute. And I'd been on site for I think 3 hours, and I was like, oh my goodness, I need to go to the toilet. I need to pee. So I went downstairs, and the male toilets were open. The female toilet was locked shut, and I thought, oh great. And there was nobody on site that whole time that I'd seen that was female except the cleaner. And I was like, oh no, I'm going to need to go and find the cleaner. I don't know where she is. She didn't have a radio. Don't know where she is. So I went walking around site for about 45 minutes trying to hunt down the cleaner because she was the only one with the key to the women's toilet on site. And as you're walking up the stairwells, there's groups of guys sitting working, wiring things up and making lots of noise. And as soon as you walk past them, it's like, okay, I'm stopping talking. It's not like I've got horns in my head, but all right. And then I wandered around the site, honestly, for about 45 minutes. I couldn't find her, and I ended up having to give up, and I had to leave site and go to a cafe around the corner. Again, thank goodness it was a city centre site, so I could go somewhere else. But I'm thinking, my God, it just shouldn't be like that. And you think, no wonder that some people or some young women particularly are almost put off coming into construction because they hear all these stories and they don't feel represented. And we've got a long way to go to change that. I think, but yeah, it did make me laugh. That the only woman on site was the cleaner who had the only key to the toilet. And then when I eventually did, the next time I went on site, I made a point of speaking to her and asking her if she could leave the key at the site office so that everybody could access it. 'Cause I'm going on site with clients, and some of them were female. And I thought, God, I can't have the client team running around here and trying to look for the toilet. That's not acceptable. And they certainly can't use the corridors of the men's. It's not a way to go. And when we finally did get the key to the toilet and opened it up, it was used as like the storeroom. It was like just piles of toilet paper and stuff like bits of lighting and whatever else everywhere. It was like, this is just, yeah, it shouldn't be the norm, but unfortunately
You're
it
far too
can be.
kind. I would have just used the male toilet and sod it.
If there was a cubicle, I would have, Sarah. If there was just a
Ah,
cubicle.
right. Okay. Yeah, without cubicles is a different matter. Yeah.
No.
Right. So on the basis that you have achieved so much in 10 years, how much are you going to achieve in the next 10 years?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. That's another big question. I think this is a real point of change that I'm personally going through at the minute as well, with my promotion and in this company. And I think it's an exciting time in that we've grown the team. We've now got experience in just about every sector. We've got so much knowledge, and I think the world is our oyster. I think we could do something really special here, and it makes me really excited. I would personally love to start working in Europe again. I missed that. That was good fun, and we do some projects in Europe, but I've not had any involvement in any hotels over in Europe recently, and I would absolutely love to get more involved in that. I'd like to do it for the Highlands of Scotland and city centre of Scotland. I would love to do some more projects round about here. We're so lucky because we've done a fair few, especially the last few years. Most of our projects actually have been in and around Glasgow and Edinburgh, so it's been a nice change. But yeah, I would love to see that develop. And I'm really excited for what the team are going to do, like on their own accord as well. That growth and giving that platform to somebody else, I think is really, it's a really exciting time. Maybe a bit of a passion project, but like I'd said before, the conversation that we had about my dissertation and how I would love to see more models of what's being done in Scandinavia and Japan and all these end of life care, hospice care environments. I think I'd love to get involved in something like that, and they are more. I guess it's got that hospitality look. So it would be great to do something like that just to give back a little bit. I think it's great designing hotels and spaces for people to enjoy. And I love my job, but I would like to give back in some way as well in that regard. So that would be really nice. I guess most of all, I want to still love my job in 10 years' time. I love my job. I'm so passionate about it. I love everything about it, bar deadlines. But it's something that I can't imagine myself doing really anything different. So I really hope I've still got the same passion and desire to do that in 10 years.
I'm sure you will. And then I need to make sure I'll take you out for drinks with Professor Leslie Palmer of Stirling Uni.
Ah, I'd love
Yeah,
that.
my good friend Leslie, that she does a lot of research on the designing for dementia. So it's not end of life care, but close enough. And she's
Yeah,
done a lot of research in Japan and things like that. So I'm sure she would be able
yeah.
to inspire you to do something
Oh,
exceptional.
yeah. I'd love to chat to her.
Yeah. Well, you're coming to Edinburgh, aren't you?
Yes, I am. I'm
Yeah.
so
So you'll meet her
excited.
there. Yeah. So she's part of the evening panel at the Edinburgh event. Right. So
Okay.
just to close off this lovely chat, if there is one project that somebody else has designed or has not been designed yet that you would either redo or do it before you retire?
That's such a big question.
Sagrada Familia,
Um,
for example.
oh, wouldn't that be great? Although there's not loads of interiors in that, I guess. Maybe a floor finish and windows, but
Well, there's no
the
interiors
architect
because it's
is
not
great.
finished.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, there you go. Sarah. We could march up and, and do that. Um, oh, what would I like to do? That's a toughie. I've got such a passion for old buildings and restoring old buildings and things that otherwise are left to ruin. Um, and I think to be honest, there's a fair few in Glasgow. Um, I'd love to do like something that like Alexander Greek Thompson did. There's a couple. There's the church that's up the other end of town that's just sitting there. It's just sitting empty, and you just think, God, can we not hone into something? Like an old castle that's been left that's just in absolute dire straits. I think it would be great to bring something back to its former glory, do it well, and make it accessible for people and somewhere that people can go and enjoy. I think that would be great fun to do.
Well,
Um,
I told you before, whenever I win the lottery, I'm gonna buy the castle in Lochfine where I got married that did a complete revamp. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a beautiful place, but very tired. They definitely need a little care and love.
Yes, definitely. No, I think something like that I get more out of my work when it's something that I have a personal like love for, and when you're restoring something that means or it has meant something to someone at some point. It might be hundreds of years old now and no one really knows it's still there, but yeah, I'd love to do that. Some of the old priory buildings, that'd be awesome. It'd
Well,
be really
maybe we
cool
can
fun.
speak to the king and see if he can do Balmoral Castle.
Yeah, yeah. Do it again for the Highlands.
Yeah, you need to be ambitious, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
Right,
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you very much. That was good fun. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks at the Edinburgh event. And even more so, looking forward to the next 10 years to see what you'll be able to achieve. And well done.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much for listening to Il Salotto Sessions. If you enjoyed the chat, please make sure you share with your friends and follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast. For more information on our events, please visit ilsalotto.design and designpopup.com. You can also find us on Instagram _designpopup and Il Salotto Glasgow, as well as LinkedIn. Should you have any feedback, questions, or suggestions, please do get in touch. We would love to hear from you. Thank you.